This week on Art in the Air, we feature the husband-wife acoustic duo known as Steve and Mary E., Steve and Mary Elizabeth Champagne, sharing some of their original music. Next, award-winning local watercolor artist Pat Herman discussing her current exhibits inspired by sycamore trees. Our spotlight is on LaPorte County Symphony's annual Drayton's Children's Concert in October and November's Americana concert.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.
Welcome. You're listening to Art on the Air on Lakeshore Public Radio, 89.1 FM and WVLP 103.1 FM, our weekly program covering the arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. I'm Larry Breckner of New Perspectives Photography, right alongside here with Esther Golden of The Nest in Michigan City.
Aloha, everyone.
We're your hosts for Art on the Air. Art on the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project Grant through South Shore Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. Art on the Air is heard Friday at 11 a.m. and Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP 103.1 FM, streaming at WVLP.org, and every Sunday at 7 p.m. on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our spotlight interviews are also heard Wednesdays on Lakeshore Public Radio. Information about Art on the Air is available on our website, breck.com/AOTA. That includes a complete show archive, spotlight interviews, plus our shows are available on multiple podcast platforms, including NPR One. Please like us on Facebook, Art on the Air, WVLP, for more information about upcoming shows and interviews. We'd like to welcome to Art in the Air Spotlight, once again, Tim King, the Executive Director for the LaPorte County Symphony Orchestra. And like always, he's going to bring us up to date on what's coming up late in the next couple of months here and everything. Tim, welcome back to Art on the Air Spotlight.
Thank you for having me back. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Always so nice to see you.
And you just finished the Hoosier Star a couple of weeks ago, so now you're ready to move on to the other things you had. And like you said, I think it was very, very successful, the Hoosier Star.
It was. We were very, very happy. That sort of begins our season, as you know, and we're in our 50th anniversary season. I would encourage people to go to our website at www.lcso.net to just see everything that's going on this season, which has been enhanced with more performances, more ensembles. So there's just a lot going on for the orchestra. So coming up in October, we're going to be having the 34th annual Drayton Family Children's Concerts, which have always been very well attended. And they're going to be on Wednesday, October the 12th. We do 3 concerts in one day. We do one at 9:30, one at 11:10, and one at 12:45 p.m. They're approximately 45 minutes in length, and that's to allow buses, cars, things like that to get in and out before the concerts. These concerts will be held at the Civic Auditorium. They're basically geared for grades 3 through 5, possibly 3 through 6. And it's really meant to give a wonderful introduction to those kids who might enter band or orchestra when they go into the 4th or 5th grade. And we've had lots of music teachers that have said, this student just signed up and she said, well, I saw this woman play the oboe and I really want to learn how to play that. And so that, it's really nice when you hear things like that and you get supported by the teachers in the school system. So we have schools from LaPorte County, from Porter County, and this year from Lake County.
Wow.
that are going to be attended. I think we're up to 6,000 students right now that are going to be attending these concerts. And what makes it really nice is that these concerts are only $1 a piece. They were $1 34 years ago, and we still have kept them $1 because we figure, they're taking their time, they're getting the bus, they're getting out of school, they want to make it worth their while. So we don't want to put a financial burden on top of the schools on top of that. We have a wonderful education guide that's already on our website, again, at lcso.net. They can download that guide, and any teacher anywhere in elementary can use it. It's created by one of our own teachers in the Kessling Intermediate School. Her name is Megan Sullivan, who brings her students to the concerts. And this is her third year with that guide, and she's just done a beautiful job. One thing that's going to be really wonderful on this concert is they're going to be a world premiere. Jo Fran Bendix and her husband Gary. Jo Fran is our only charter member of the orchestra. She's celebrating her 50th year with the orchestra. She and Gary underwrote a fanfare. And it's called Celebration Fanfare, and it's written by Rick DeYoung. And Rick actually conducted the children's concerts during the years of our music director search. And he was very, very well received. Not only is he a great conductor, but he's a great composer and great arranger. So we're going to present that 2-minute fanfare at the beginning of every concert that day, and many of the concerts in the season. So if you haven't signed up yet, please do. We'd love for you to bring your children to that concert. Then in November is really sort of our official opening, and it would be Saturday, November the 5th, again at the Civic Auditorium. And it's called Americana. And Dr. Carolyn Watson, our music director, has chosen pieces by all American composers, and that would basically be Copland, Gershwin, and Bernstein. And she's doing the fanfare for the common man to open, whichever, if they don't even think they know the piece, they know the piece. They might not know the name of it, they know the piece. But then she's coupling that with a piece by Joan Tower, who is a living composer, called the Fanfare for the Uncommon Woman. So that's going to be a really nice, I'm going to love that. I was fortunate enough to work with Joan Tower when I was with the Louisville Orchestra, and she's just a lovely, lovely human being. And these fanfares have really gotten a lot of play, as you can imagine, in her career. So then we're going to be doing Glinka's Ruslan and Ludmilla, which is going to show off our string section. Again, the fanfare from Common Man shows off our brass section. And then we're going to do Hoedown from Copland's Rodeo, which will be a big favorite, I'm sure, with the kids on the concert. And then after intermission, we're going to be doing selections from Porgy and Bess of George Gershwin. And after that, we conclude with selections from West Side Story by Leonard Bernstein. We have 3 wonderful young singers that Carolyn has worked with just in the last year or so. Soprano Amanda Sheriff, tenor Alexander Sherman, and bass baritone Nicholas Davis, who are going to be joining the orchestra on that concert. We're still selling season tickets. We'd love for people to subscribe. It's 4 concerts. It's the best deal in town. Students get in free as long as they have a student pass of some sort. Identification. We're the only orchestra that I know of in the area, in the region, that offers a free concert to students. Most orchestras charge $5 or $10, and we don't charge anything. We'll also have an instrument petting zoo at this concert, which will encourage the young ones to come in and, again, try out an instrument. And we're going to have folks from our orchestra who are going to be helping with that. So lots of stuff going on, as you can imagine. So we're really excited about it, and I just need to keep on top of it.
I'm sure you will.
I just need to stay out in front of it as much as I can.
Well, and I noticed that she's doing the Copland pieces, Fanfare and Hoedown, on the children's concert also. So
that's right. That's right, because she thought they would be really good pieces for students, and then why not just take those and put those over on the other concert, and that will actually help with our rehearsal procedure as well. People can get their tickets at lcso.net. Single tickets are $22 for adults, $20 for seniors, and students get in free.
That sounds great. Well, once again, that's Tim King, the executive director of the LaPorte County Symphony, and they have a full season coming up. We're going to come back with him sometime soon to talk about what's coming up after these 2 concerts, the Drayton Family Concert and the Americana Concert. Thank you so much, Tim, for coming on Art in the Air Spotlight.
Yeah, always exciting, Tim. Thank you.
Thank you both. I appreciate the invitation.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM.
We would like to welcome Mary and Steve Champagne to Art on the Air. They are musicians who began writing and performing together in 2007. They perform as Steve and Mary E. They moved to Michigan City, Indiana in 2008 and launched their musical endeavor by performing at the local farmers market. Then they started landing gigs. Steve and Mary E. are award-winning musicians. Best Duo, and Mary received the Top Performer Award from the Kankakee Area Music Awards. Thank you Thank you both for joining Larry and I on Art on the Air. Aloha and welcome. Hey, it's good to see you.
Well, and we'd like to welcome you. And we also like to just find out a little bit about our guests. And so we'll start off with, I always like to know your biography, your life story. So we'll start maybe with you, Mary, how you got from where you were to where you are now.
So where I was, well, I was in Kankakee, Illinois for the bigger part of my life, and began singing when I was 13. Got my first paid gig at the age of 16 and thought, well, this is really kind of fun. And so as a result, I really pursued the vocal end of music, performing in Kankakee, Illinois. I was the guest vocalist with the Kankakee Municipal Band for over 15 years. And I used to say I sang for my supper. And so between singing for funerals and weddings and civic events, social events, that type of thing, I just kept, with the vocalization and the craft, and speed ahead to my middle 30s. And I decided, well, I think I'm going to go into teaching. And so I actually studied vocal music. I'm licensed as a music teacher. But I studied vocal music at Olivet Nazarene University in Bourbonnais, Illinois. And speed ahead, I met Steve in 2007, and we immediately hit it off musically, started making great music together in many ways. And that now I'm in 2008. Let's see, in 2007, we were in Indianapolis. And so I was doing some vocalization down there as well for a couple of nonprofits. And in 2008, we moved to Michigan City. And the rest is what we're here to talk about now. And so,
so Mary, were you in choir in high school?
I was in choir and performance choir.
Singing household? Was your household a singing one, or?
Yes, very much so. My mother had an incredible singing voice, and she did barbershop harmony along with, standards, that type of thing. And to live in our household, if you were not involved in music to some regard, then there was probably something wrong with you. It was kind of a given. You better be involved in the creative arts to some degree, and in particular music. And so I was raised surrounded by that. I have two brothers that are very, very involved in music still to this day, and performing out and about and recording and doing a great job. And so, so that's where we're at.
And how about you, Steve? So
I grew up in a northwest suburb of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, called Menominee Falls. Graduated bachelor's from the University of Wisconsin in Madison. That's where I, at a little job fair, met what would become my first manager at IBM in upstate New York. So I wound up moving out that direction, mostly in Poughkeepsie, but other, things along the Hudson. Would visit New York a lot. Went into software development. That really made it possible to live far more remotely. So I actually moved back to Wisconsin at some point, lived with my brother for a little while. And it was somewhere while living with him that I was a kind of a MySpace participant, and I had widened the zone of search, so to speak. And so through a chain of events of having done that, I met Mary. And Mary she contacted me, and we just started talking, and eventually we had a great time together in what's called Cold Spring, New York, right along the Hudson, which is why one of our songs is called Cold Spring.
Well, since you queued that up, let's talk about that, and let's take a quick listen to it. Tell us a little bit about the background of Cold Spring, and we'll listen to it.
Well, we were staying in Cold Spring, and we actually first met up in Cold Spring, New York, and we went back there about 6 months later,
right.
And to just kind of hang out there a little bit. And we had an opportunity to do an open mic, and they said, but you got to do all original music. And I had already written a poem called Cold Spring, which retold the whole story. And Steve came up with a little melody right after we met. And it was all based on Mary in the sunshine, Mary in the moonlight, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And I went, you know what? This goes together. And so I started singing the poem to his melody, and Cold Spring.
Wow, that's
What
such
a beautiful story. Well, let's take a listen to it. Here's Cold Spring with Steve and Mary E.
Cold spring in the morning, walking down Main Street, smiling and waving at every man and every child and every woman that you meet. Cold spring in the springtime, promise fills the air. Strolling by the riverside, the scent of summer, rush of river, legend lore blowing through my head. Cold spring in the summertime, love's in bloom, it's clear. Sitting at the depot where I lost my heart, I found my joy, my love, my song, my friend. He is there. Cold spring in the winter, friendship warms the heart. Sipping coffee at the foundry, sharing stories, it's an art there. Someone's waiting, laughing, scheming, hoping, singing. Folks are clinging to hearts and dreaming. Wakes your heart like cold spring, cold spring, refreshing, cold spring.
And that was Steve and Mary E. Their original Cold Spring, kind of made on the fly there. It was very interesting.
Well, actually, like that first bloom of your relationship.
Yeah, I was writing poetry. I was really involved in writing poetry at the time. And so it just kind of all came together.
Right.
And then you've got some other music, and we want to do that. And this, you can tell us a little bit about Strides. That was from the Husbands album, and so tell us a little bit about the background on that.
And again, we had gotten involved in an event to raise money and awareness for the Stride event. So anyway, we decided, well, let's do something really special to commemorate that. And so I set out, being the lyricist, wrote this poem about what it would feel like. My sister actually had been diagnosed with advanced cancer at the time. And I began to think about what it feels like as a woman to realize when you first feel that lump in your breast. What does it feel like? And so the poem, Strides, takes a woman through that journey of discovery and then holding on to hope. And so I wrote the lyrics, and I went to Steve and I said, I see this, because we were going down to Lake Michigan all the time. And I said, I see this almost as this breeze across the lake. And I want the music to sound this way. And Steve, being the incredible musician that he is, just started playing it. And in a moment, kismet, and it came together.
Let's take a listen to Strides here. That's Steve and Mary E.
She stands before the mirror and wonders why. She reaches out in hopes to touch the sky.
that starts to fall. Fighting back, she leans against the wall. She's not alone, though she seems to be. There's many more just like you and me. We are not alone in this fight. Walking, stepping side by side. Sometimes one step, it is all you can do. Holding on to hope and dreaming too. Like a breeze sailing over the lake. It's our dreams we all have to make. Just gliding, striding, hoping we'll do. Remember, there's a lighthouse on the shore. A light reminds you, oh, you are not alone. The waves seem rough and they toss you about, but love's the ship that carries you through. Sometimes one step, it is all you can do. Holding on to hope and dreaming too. Like a breeze sailing over the lake. It's the dreams we all have to make. A chance we have to take. A step we have to make. Making strides along the way.
And that was Steve and Mary E. on Stride. What a beautiful
For me,
story.
that felt like it's saying you're just not alone.
Yes.
So.
Right, right.
So is that your process, that you're the lyricist primarily and Steve, you're the musician? Is that kind of the general process, or?
I think so.
For the most part,
For the
yeah.
most part, the way we've created together, that seems to be the way it is. Yeah.
Right. I was lucky enough as a kid in the 60s to have acquired a little reel-to-reel tape recorder. So I've been kind of fascinated with that. And my parents, fortunately, gave me piano lessons, and I wound up in band, second chair trumpet. And but then I would acquire things like 16-track digital decks to do more elaborate things. And so I'm halfway decent at it. I wouldn't say, professional grade, but enough to get the idea down. So it was really nice to find someone like Mary that could supply such amazing verbiage for some of this stuff, and who likes working with me so much. It just works out great.
So we have a good time.
Yeah,
that's good.
We're hoping to be able to do a lot more writing now that we're kind of in a semi-retired state in our lives too. So, remastering some things.
Did you hear the double quotes around the word semi?
Semi, yeah.
Well, the state of the times, I think.
Oh, I know, right? It's what it is, but we're enjoying it.
I was just going to say, so can you give us a little background on Missing You?
So Missing You, wow, this is a really good story, I think. Like I said, back in 2007, 2008, I was doing a lot more writing. I was doing a lot of writing, actually. And Steve and I hooked up. And like all things go, you know, you do hit all of a sudden a point where you're like, wow, is this permanent? Is this life? Is this the person I want to be with now for the duration, right? And and Steve had a little more doubt than I did, I think, at that point. And so he was kind of grappling with, where do we go from here? And so Missing You the lyrics were written, it was a poem first. It was me imagining the struggle that Steve was having in letting go and just pursuing this path of music and love and life and family together. And so that's the story behind Missing You.
Well, here's Missing You with Steve and Mary E.
They float and fall, the autumn leaves are swirling all around, my head down to my feet. My mind keeps calling me back to yesterdays that were. I wonder where they've gone. Tomorrow's days are whispering me to you, calling me by name, so gently in the wind. There it is, it's you in my mind, so solid but unsure. Sending me deeper, deeper into you. That's what I really fear. My heart rests, it calls, it urges me towards you. Just take my heart away. I ask myself, what now? Where do I go? Slipping into love's sweet surrender. Will I know? Should I lose myself? Wind up missing you. Clinging to the past and me that I long for, although you that I would die without. Is it love I fear, or fear of me changing me for you? Tomorrow's days are whispering me to you, calling me by name, so gently in the wind. There it is, it's you in my mind, so solid but unsure. Sending me deeper, deeper into you. That's what I really feel. We embrace the joy, the bliss in the autumn rain, strolling hand in hand. Will my life ever be the same? Where do I go? Let me run in the pouring rain,
Strolling hand in hand, will my life ever be the same? Where do I go? Let me run.
Let me be the one. They fly and fall, the autumn leaves are swirling around, my head down to my feet. In love's embrace, I'm safe. I lose my heart now. I've stopped missing you.
I've stopped missing you.
I've stopped missing you.
I've stopped missing you.
I've just I'm missing you.
Okay, and we're back. That was Missing You with Steve and Mary E. Hey, we just have a quick moment here. Tell us how people can find you, like on the internet and everything, and sometime like this October 2022 and beyond, where you might be playing.
Well, we've kind of taken a little bit of a sabbatical hiatus, I guess you'd say, from getting any new bookings. We had our last booking that was on the calendar for this summer season, this past weekend, and we were actually up on the Harbor Adventure cruise ship. That was really fun.
2-deck boat that goes out on
boat.
Lake Michigan, out of Michigan City, and
Yeah.
we had, it was actually a fundraiser for a mayoral candidate, and it was just super fun.
It was fun. So we're taking a little bit of a hiatus to do some recording, updating, maybe do some songwriting. We want to cover a couple of songs with some great musicians that we encountered a few years ago. And so we're going to be working on that a little bit, but they can find us by going to Facebook. We go by Steve and Mary E on Facebook, and we're also on Reverb Nation, also Steve and Mary E. So they can find us there. And if anybody wants us to come and play, hey, we'll come.
And there's your contact. Well, we appreciate that. Steve and Mary E., Steve and Mary Elizabeth Champagne, and you can find them on Facebook and on Reverb Nation. And we're going to play out with Bella Luna from them. Thank you so much for coming on Art on the Air.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bella, bella luna. Bella, bella luna. Bella, bella luna. Bella, bella luna. Swimming in the sea of love. Bella, bella luna. Bella, bella luna. Smiling in the clouds above. Bella, bella luna. Bella, bella luna. Dancing on the shore of stars. Bella, bella luna. Bella, bella luna. Diving with the other angels. Bella, bella luna. Bella, bella luna. Lord, I want the one there, that golden-eyed girl. I want to give her presents, lace her neck with pearls. I want her as my mama, her heart's as good as gold. Her smile is electric, it's her I want to hold me. I'm a Bella, Bella Luna. Bella, Bella Luna. Rocking on the lap of love. Bella, Bella Luna. Bella, Bella Luna. Warming up the autumn nights. Bella, Bella, Bella Luna. October moon ain't near as bright. Bella, Bella, Bella Luna. Clair de luna, moonshine, belle enfant de lune. I'm a beautiful moonchild, moonshine, luz de luna. Bambino, bella della luna, dancing with the stars. Can't wait to see you squeeze your hand, you captivate my heart. I'm a bella, bella, bella luna. Bella, bella, bella luna. Moonshine, starshine, sunshine, my heart shines. Oh, bella, bella, bella luna. Bella, bella, bella luna.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM.
We would like to welcome Pat Herman to Art on the Air. Pat is an award-winning local artist, primarily in watercolors, whose work has been juried into area shows at the Midwest Museum of American Art, the Box Factory, Southern Shore Artist Association Gallery, and numerous other venues. She is both a studio painter as well as a plein air painter, who also has a long history and passion for sycamore trees. Thank you, Pat, for joining Larry and I on Art on the Air. Aloha and welcome.
Aloha, thank you, and I'm pleased to be invited.
Well, Pat, we always like to have our artists tell a little bit about their background, their biography, and everything. And I always like to say how you got from where you were to where you are now. So tell us about yourself.
Okay, I was born in Detroit, but grew up in Dearborn, Michigan, which is the home of Ford Motor Company, which is where my family was ensconced. And I worked there, and that's where I met my husband. But before all of that, I went to a Rouleau Elementary School in Dearborn and had a 6th grade teacher who loved art. And whatever we did, we had an opportunity to put art into it. And I think that's really where it all started. I always liked to draw, always was doodling and picking up pens or pencils or whatever. But she was really a profound influence on me. I can still remember a poster I made for a paper drive. That's how powerful it was.
Wow.
And when I went through junior high, not middle school at that time, and into high school, I was a college prep student, so I couldn't take art. There was no room in the schedule because being a young woman, I knew I had to take shorthand, not art, because I wasn't going to be able to get the kind of job I wanted in those days. But I did take one clay class and absolutely fell in love with clay, but it was the only thing I could squeeze into my schedule. And I went to the University of Detroit and graduated with a degree in communications, and then went to work for Ford in public relations, where I met my husband, and got married and settled down in the Detroit area and had 3 children and moved around a bit. I think in our marriage, my husband passed away last year in October. It'll be a year on the 23rd. And during our marriage of nearly 59 years, I think we owned 13 different houses.
Oh my!
So we shifted around, but it was great. We traveled a lot when the kids got older and did a lot of fun things. And I started taking classes when my husband started traveling a great deal. We were living in Cleveland, and I had a 1.5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. And I was crazed in the house all the time because he was often away. And I took a watercolor class for the first time, and that really kicked it into gear.
So I want to say condolences on your husband's passing. I'm sorry to hear that. And
thank you.
The other thing I want to ask is, during all this time, as you're going, and I'm going to back it up to even, maybe high school, college.
Sure.
Did you, and your work life, did you fit in any sort of, were you still drawing and sketching and doing work, or was that something that just got put aside and then reignited?
No, yeah, it did get put aside because when you pull out these cute little tubes with fancy little tops on them, and they all have different colors on them. If you're 3 years old or 4 years old or 5 years old, you want to take the tops off. So during that time when I was buying Winsor Newton paint, and squeeze. And it was like, no, you can't squeeze that tube. So I did set it aside for a time. And then there was an opportunity. We lived in a town called Lathrop Village, which is a suburb of Detroit. And it was also not far from Birmingham, Michigan. And Birmingham had a community center. Our town was really, really little. Everybody knew everybody. But Birmingham was bigger. And I got a part-time deal there. I wrote a column for about 4 years, which I pretty much wrote on Sunday night because they had to deliver it on Monday morning with 3 kids in the car. But I discovered the community center at the same time, and they were offering classes. And it was there that I took a watercolor class, which sort of reignited things. And I would try painting when the kids went to bed, but it's really hard to do that.
Yeah, you're tired.
Yeah, you have zero energy at the end of the day. It's like, okay, paint, are you kidding? And then you have to put it away when you're done. Right. So it was off and on, but I had an instructor there. Her name was Tori Cox, and Tori was another boot in the pants, so to speak, because I was painting and she kept saying, you have to frame these. You have to mat and you have to frame. And I kept saying, no, I don't mat and frame. These are not frameable. These are not, I'm not going to spend money on mats for this stuff. And she said, I want you to come to my house and I want you to bring the paintings that you've done and collected. I know you have a little pile, and we're going to cut mats and we're going to frame some things. And I did that. And it was the wow factor, from painting. You put a mat on something that you've painted and it really pops. It's really, really helpful. And I was always afraid to do that. I just didn't want to do it. But after that, I entered a show and I sold 2 paintings at the show. And it was like, okay, now I have to really seriously make room in my life. So I tried to.
That's a beautiful story. I was reading your artist statement, and of course, we'll talk about your current exhibit, but then the inspiration for it. But tell us about that as a young girl looking up at trees and specific kind of tree that is your story. I mean, that's because that really informs your current exhibit and art.
It does. And when I started painting the sycamore trees, the show was called Odes to the Sycamore. And it was really by accident that I actually started. I had wanted to do this for a long, long time, as long as I can remember, because I've been in love with the trees. My grandmother had a 2-flat in Dearborn, and my parents and my brother and I lived upstairs. And we had a porch upstairs. And in her tree lawn, she had 2, what seemed to me at the time, I mean, I'm sure they were big, but they seemed gargantuan to me as a little kid. And I used to love to sit on the front porch and look out at those trees because I could see the tops of the trees, and they fascinated me. They have leaves that can be like 8 inches long. They're huge. And when I was out of the house and downstairs, I loved lying on my back under the trees and looking up at all these amazing limbs that were coming out of these trees and the peeling bark. And they were just beautiful to me. And I never realized until I started this project, which became a series. I had never done a series before. And I decided this needed to be a series because I really felt like I had a lot of things to say about
Right, there's so many moods of trees.
I know there are. And, and somebody asked me at the opening 2 weeks ago about, well, how do you know, or what prompts you to paint that particular tree or the bark on that tree or whatever? And I said, no, I haven't thought about that, but I think if I have to say something about that, there's something inside of me that first draws me to the image that I have taken. I have tons of photos of sycamores. And then inside, I'm looking for, why am I drawn to this tree? What do I need to tell somebody about this tree? And that's why the paintings are very different, because I see different things in different trees and try to put on paper something that will not be a photograph of a tree, but something that shows what that tree conjures up in me.
Right. That evocative moment. And
exactly.
Just the change in light or the palette you use will completely change the mood.
Totally. And I just got so involved in doing that. So as I said, I never realized how important they were in my life. Although all my life, whenever I see a sycamore tree, I zone in on the tree. And if I can get to it, I will photograph it in some way, shape, or form. And they're just intriguing to me. And they're in Shanghai, they call them super trees. And 3 out of 4 trees in Shanghai are sycamores. And one of the, I think, most intriguing things about them is, as you know, the bark peels, and underneath is a new white bark. And that process actually removes pollutants from the tree. So the tree is continually cleaning its body to save its life. And they can live 250 years. There are known trees that are 500, 600 years old, which I think is just mind-boggling. I mean,
what a lovely memory to have in relation to your grandmother as well.
Oh, it is. And what's really funny is, so when I was doing all this and I was putting together notes, I have notes in my show. I thought I have to be able to explain to people why sycamore trees are so powerful to me and why they should know these things about sycamore trees, because they're just simply amazing. But so one evening I was sitting and I was reviewing my notes and what I wanted to say. And I thought, gosh, I haven't been to my grandmother's, the part of town where I grew up, those 13 years that I lived there. I should Google a house and see, what's it look like now? Is
the house still there?
Yeah. And more importantly, are the trees still there? And they are. And it made me so happy to see that my trees are still there. So
they're going to be a field trip in your future.
I'm actually going over in October to visit a friend outside Detroit, and I think I might have to cut through Dearborn and go check out my trees.
Go take some new photos.
Yes, and take some new photos. And interestingly, so we were in a 2-flat, which was a big 2-flat. So it was very tall, but the trees now are at least a story and a half taller than the 2-flat.
Wow.
So they have really continued to prosper.
Any more facts on sycamores you want to share?
Let's see. I can't think of anything right at the moment. Well, I can tell you that, for instance, the canopies on a sycamore tree can be 70 to 90 feet across. I mean, they are really big trees, and they grow quite quickly. And so you can't, if you're going to plant a sycamore, you don't want to plant it close to your house because the roots don't go very deep, but they go out as far as the tree goes, and they're very, strong. They're I forget what the term is in the biological sense, but they're trees that don't fall down in the wind if they've been established. They're really firm
Stable.
trees. Yeah, very stable.
And I guess the seeds I saw in your artist statement are kind of very unique.
They are. They have these little seed balls which hang on really, really fine little stems. And I mean, we used to have seed ball wars under the trees. You just be whipping those around like snowballs. But they're just intriguing trees. And the colors. There's one painting in the show that it's called "It's All About the Bark," and the colors in it. My daughter-in-law said to me when she saw it, "Wow," she said, "those colors are really amazing. How did you come up with those colors?" I said, "They're all in the trees." And I sent her a photo that showed her, they maybe were not the depth of color that I had, but the colors were all there. There's purples and greens, and it's amazing.
You're listening to Art on the Air, WVLP 103.1 FM, and on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM.
So Pat, you're very fortunate in that you have two wildly different landscapes that in areas that you live in that are so different. And so it must be really refreshing to change your palette and what you're seeing. So do you spend part of the time, is it every year that you spend part of the time in the West?
No, not any longer. My husband, no, we went to Arizona and Western environs for probably 25 years. At first for a week or 2 weeks or a long weekend or whatever, and gradually it grew. And we ended up buying property in Arizona, and we had a home in Fountain Hills, which is outside of Phoenix. And we went there every year. And I love to go because there are sycamore trees often in Arizona, which was a shock to me. First time I saw a sycamore tree out there, I'm like, wait a minute, these are Michigan trees. These are not Arizona trees, but they thrive out there. If there's a creek running somewhere, you're likely to find a towering sycamore tree, which is pretty amazing when you think of it, the desert in the Midwest, and they're very prolific down the East Coast and into the South. They're almost everywhere. They really are.
Where you live, do you have sycamores that you can just look out and draw inspiration from?
Today?
Yeah, where you live right now.
Yeah, well, I can go to Stone Lake. The whole beach is covered with sycamore trees. So if you haven't been there, you should go. And I'm going back because two of the paintings in the show are two different sides of the same tree. And I took a picture of the first painting, and I was like, wow, those are really interesting shapes. I like those lines. So I thought, I'm going to move over here and see what it is. And it was equally amazing. So I took another shot, and I got so excited. I was like, oh, I can't wait to go home and paint these. And then when I painted them, I thought, darn it, I never looked at the other two sides. I need to go back. So I will be back this fall at Stone Lake and find my tree so I can photograph it.
So how did the pandemic impact you? Did you find that to be a creative period for you, or?
No, it was crushing. It was crushing. My husband, as I guess I started to say, my husband developed some time ago, a long time ago, actually, longer than we realized until we got well into it, Lewy body dementia. So we quit going to Arizona in 2016, and then I had to have him stop driving several years after that, and our world got smaller and smaller, and then the pandemic hit, and it was really hard for us because nobody could come in. I couldn't call somebody in to say, could you come spend an afternoon? Everybody was scared to death of contagion, and rightly so. So it was a difficult time, and it was during that time a friend of mine, I know you guys know her, Julie Casnunis is
Yes.
a very good friend, and Julie called me one day and she said, are you painting? And I said, no. I said, I put my stuff away. I can't paint. And she said, you need to be painting. And I said, I know I do. I've tried, but I can't. And she said, well, you know what? My class is she has a studio behind her home, and she has classes that she teaches there. And she said, my class is on Zoom now, so you don't have to come here. You can just log on and join us. And she said, we don't care if you paint. We don't care if you talk. We don't care everything. Just be there. And I said, I don't think I can do it. She said, okay, here's the time and here's the login information. We'll see you Monday. And I did it. And I told her in the conversation, I said, I don't even know what to paint anymore. I mean, life was not easy. And she said, oh, you'll think of something. And I said, all right, I'll think about it. And I did. And one of the things that came to mind was my sycamore trees. Okay, maybe now. And I tried before, and there was never a right time. But I did one on Zoom, and I got a really positive reaction from fellow painters. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll do another one. And then I started pulling out the pictures that I had. And then I went over to the Beecher and had them run colored pictures for me, big ones. And I made a stash, and that kicked it off. Wow. And I couldn't stop. I was like driven. And I went to Leo firm last January. My husband had died in October. And I said, I knew I needed to have a goal. I couldn't go through winter not knowing what I was going to do. And so I went in to see Leo, and I asked him if he had laid out plans for shows during the year. And he said, oh my God, no, we're all so busy with pandemic and everybody's so scared. But he said, why do you ask? And I said, I want to do a show. And he said, okay, when do you want to do it? And I said, September, because I thought I only have like 3 paintings, 2 that aren't done and 1 that's finished, and I need time. And he said, okay, you're on. You'll get September and October. I said, perfect. And it was just what I needed to get into. And then I got COVID again in July. I had it in January, and I got it again in July, and it was frustrating. So my dining room table was filled with paint matter and ideas to paint, and I could just sit in a chair, and I just kept falling asleep. But eventually I got through it, and I painted my brains out.
Very good.
That was fun.
So the show opened about 2 weeks ago. This is like the second Friday, and it continues through when? All the way November?
Yes, November 8th, goes through November 8th. And we're doing something, or I'm doing something in that I'm advertising the second half of the show will be second Friday. And we'll be open from 4 until 7. And anyone who missed it has a chance to come again, and would love to have a full house again. We had a very good turnout the first opening, but now we're going to
open but again. They can go to Leo Firms at any point and see the exhibit. They
anytime.
Don't have to wait for the
exactly. I was there yesterday. A friend came out yesterday, and I met her there, and so they're open every day but Sunday. So basically 9 to 5, I think, on weekdays, and Saturday is like 10 to 4. But yeah, they're there. So, and the sycamores are there.
Yeah.
Still painting outside?
No, I haven't for a while. I painted twice with plein air this year. I was driven by a different engine this year. I had work that had to be done. And I was like, no, I don't. If I'm painting, I better be in here doing a sycamore tree. But I hope to get back again. So when the show wraps up.
Do you teach classes? I mean, I'm talking like pre-pandemic, I guess, because that.
Yeah, I taught 2 classes for Michigan City Art League, but it was sort of at the time when things were slipping at home and everything, and it just got hard to do that kind of thing. I had to cancel once, and I didn't want to do that, so I didn't do it anymore. But I tell you, an interesting thing that's happened is that, as I say, I paint in Julie's studio, and we have a show the studio group at the Depot Gallery in Beverly Shores in October. So if you want to see Pat Herman paintings, you can go to the Depot Gallery and see them. I've entered 2, and then you can come down to Firm and see the sycamores because I'm going to be both places.
Oh, how
And,
exciting.
yeah, and then the studio will move into the Firm Gallery in November and December. So guess what? I'll be back.
Lots of opportunities.
Lots. Yeah, it's fun.
Your next series going to be? Are you going to do another series, do you think?
Well, I will keep painting sycamores #1 because it's not over. I will do that. But yeah, I've been thinking about have a collection of photographs of people in their younger years, things they did when they were kids. And just the other day, I thought of it. It would be interesting to do a series that's a moment in time. And I'm going to start that. I don't know if it will turn into that, but it's kind of churning in the back of my head.
Lovely.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, we're about ready to wrap up here. So tell us again when your exhibit runs and where it is and everything else real quick.
Odes to the Sycamore is at Firm Gallery. They're open 6 days a week. You can check online for hours. And I'm there through November 8th. And then I'll also be at the Depot Gallery in Beverly Shores, also with the painters from Julie's studio, the month of October.
Well, we should mention that Firm is FIRME, and they're in Beverly Shores, Indiana.
D2 Highway 12.
Yeah, you are easier on Highway 12, just a little bit west of Broadway.
Yeah.
Pat, thank you so much for coming on Art of the Air and sharing your art journey and everything, and we really appreciate you doing that. I saw your exhibit. I came and saw it in person.
I know you did. I really appreciated it.
That's Pat Herman, sycamore painter. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Take good care.
We'd like to thank our guest this week on Art on the Air, our weekly program covering the arts and arts events throughout Northwest Indiana and beyond. Art on the Air is heard Friday at 11 a.m. and Monday at 5 p.m. on WVLP 103.1 FM, streaming live at WVLP.org, and every Sunday at 7 p.m. on Lakeshore Public Radio 89.1 FM, also streaming live at lakeshorepublicradio.org, and is available on Lakeshore Public Radio's website as a podcast. Our Spotlight interviews are also heard every Wednesday on Lakeshore Public Radio. Thanks to Tom Maloney, Vice President of Radio Operations for Lakeshore Public Radio, and Greg Kovach, WVLP's station manager. Our theme music is by Billy Foster with a vocal by Renee Foster. Art in the Air is supported by an Indiana Arts Commission Arts Project Grant through South Shore Arts and the National Endowment for the Arts. We would like to thank our current supporters and underwriters, which include Regional Art Patron Mary Levan and Walt Bredinger of Paragon Investments. So we may continue to bring you Art on the Air. We rely on you, our listeners and underwriters, for ongoing financial support. If you're looking to support Art on the Air, we have information on our website at breck.com/AOTA, where you can find out how to become a supporter or underwriter of our program in whatever amount you are able. And like I say every week, don't give till it hurts. Give till it feels good. You'll feel so good about supporting Art on the Air. If you're interested in being a guest or sending us information about your arts-related event or exhibit, please email us at aota@breck.com. That's aota@breck.com, or contact us through our Facebook page. Your hosts were Larry Breckner and Esther Golden, and we invite you back next week for another episode of Art on the Air.
Aloha, everyone. Have a splendid week.
Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. You're in the know with Esther and Larry. Art on the air today. Stay in the know with Larry and Esther. Art on the air our way. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart. Express yourself through art and show the world your heart.